North Tiverton water is what we're talking about too. That we capture that and understand what that is, and if there's a small fee, then.
Yeah, without getting into too many details, it's very important to be consistent.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about small numbers of individuals. And if we treat one separately differently than the other, we have an obvious problem.
I just have a quick question. Mr. Kendricks, is there any risk that Mr. Lincourt's coverage expires while we're doing this due diligence?
No, we haven't officially brought him over pending this issue. I didn't want to.
And I would think in agreement that until the decision is made, he would stay on our health.
Great. I just didn't want to see a situation where he runs out of health
I don't believe we would allow that.
Right, we
happen.
didn't want to create a gap at all.
Yeah. I think we just need some clarification, before we make a final decision.
Okay.
And I think that whether or not there's some contractual legalese just to say that, yes, he is not an employee of the town, but he will be under our auspices of our experience, or whatever. And then we do need to look at the other entities, the ones that have asked and the ones that are in, and see how do we handle that.
Do we have that language from the trust in kind of ready to go format?
Yeah, what they want us to know that the wastewater district is an affiliated entity of the town.
Right.
So we're not saying that he's a town employee.
Right.
But we're just accepting it.
We're also not saying he works at Dunkin' Donuts, but we're going to cover him anyway. So, I mean,
That's
it's
correct. You're
halfway in
saying that the
between.
entity
Yeah.
is affiliated.
Affiliated with the town, right.
And frankly, I mean, no.
Okay. All right. Well,
Just for information, Portsmouth does this with Portsmouth Fire and Water District. That's they do that.
We
So
just have to start off on a good methodology.
Yeah. And we just need to be clear on how it's handled. And again, like I said,
Okay.
we've had other people who've asked and been
Because
denied.
you've
So
got two water districts and the library,
Right.
all of which can make a reasonable case that they're in the same position.
Yep.
I think we want to make this the model going forward, though, so do this right, and then,
okay.
Okay.
thank you.
So as quickly as we have, we'll pull that together. At no time until then will he lose his health benefits and whatnot. That will stay status quo.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Laura.
Thanks for staying this late.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
You've gotten past this before. I just couldn't give you one tonight. I'm sorry.
I'm missing my Bears game.
Oh, then wait a minute. Come back here.
You sure you're missing it?
Thanks.
Thanks, Leroy. Town Administrator, approval of contract addendum modification for Executive Administrative Assistant Mary Lou Sullivan. Salary increase, second year of 3-year contract, July 23rd, 2013 to July 22nd, 2016.
Mr. President, this reflects an annual process. I had half a year's worth of my own experience and data to review. It is my observation that in the past, this employee, while not a member of the union, has had salary increase and other approaches to benefits that mirror very closely her peer group within the town. And with only 6 months here, I did not seek to upset that pattern. The salary recommendation is for a 1.5% increase, which I fully support and ask for your support tonight.
Okay,
I will-
I only have one question.
Sure.
Do we have it in the budget?
Yes, sir. It is, that's what was budgeted in the budget.
Okay.
And it's retroactive to July
To her anniversary date.
23rd.
Correct.
Anything else from the council? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor? Motion carries. Town Administrator, approval of contract addendum modification for Police Chief Thomas Blakey, salary increase to $85,530.
I would just.
Playing the role of chief this now.
I was going to
Chief-
say, boy, the chief changed quick.
Bellucci's
you
got some
turn around
thoughts
for a
on your
minute.
salary. Mr. President, this, there's actually an extensive set of evaluation documents and recommendations on the personnel side that are in your executive session packet to support my recommendation. First and foremost, I recommend the budgeted 2% increase for the chief. And secondly, what I'm requesting the council's consideration is that the actual total be 3% and that the additional 1% be awarded upon the department's successful completion of the accreditation process, and then applied retroactively to his anniversary date. Without delving into all the details of performance evaluations, the structure of the Tiverton Police Department and the priorities that have been set and the goals that have been achieved, in my professional opinion, are at a very high level. And I'm doing the very best I can to acknowledge that and to bring this salary into line with, similar communities and to not let it lag behind. And also to send a strong message to all of our departments that a high level of training, a high level of seeking professional outside peer review and involvement in your operation is the kind of thing we want to encourage in the town. And I've only been here 6 months. Chief Blakey's been doing this for years. And in the past year and for his goals for the next year, there's just a constant theme of progress and increasing the capabilities and capacity of the department. And that is what supports my recommendation this evening.
We have this in the budget.
The 2% is in your budget. The 1% would have to come from future needs or another source of transfer.
Do we have a date certain on the anticipated?
There is no date certain, so the soonest it could be, Chief, help me out here, the soonest it could be would be 9 months. We do anticipate being able to,
Speaking of accreditation.
Accreditation.
Accreditation, we've completed the rules and regulations, we've completed the review and revisal of all policies and procedures within the department. The next step is to implement them and to verify that we've implemented them. They have a committee that comes in. We're kind of there when they're available to come in and basically to make the first rounds of evaluation. And we may have to tweak some things, so we are at their mercy as far as availability of the state accreditation committee. But I'm seeing 9 months now where we should be implementing some serious steps, at least hopefully have them the committee come in and evaluate us in the first go-around, if you will. That's what I'm hoping to do. It's a long, drawn-out process, but it definitely will benefit the town. Litigation, it shows that we, the Tiverton Police Department, adhere to the same rules and regulations statewide, and it definitely, I think Mr. Tights would attest to the fact that it definitely helps your position in any type of litigation, that you're not a rogue group going off and doing your own thing. So that's the effort is geared toward that. But to answer your question briefly, it's going to take 9 months minimally to get someone in there and to verify that we're historically adopting the procedures we say we have applied.
Okay. Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
So at that point, then, it actually would fall into the next fiscal year.
right now.
Yeah, I know it's retroactive, but what I'm saying is that if accreditation takes 9 months or more, then that increase would be budgeted into
Next fiscal year.
next fiscal year.
Correct.
No, I know, but I just want to make sure on the budgetary line.
Understood.
Future needs,
Yes.
whatever we
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah.
that
To
is
make it
for.
retro, obviously, you would have to use future needs, but to make sure that we anticipate and make sure that we put that in the budget for the next.
For next year, if it happens that way. Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything from the council?
No.
Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the contract addendum / modification for the police chief for a 2% increase only at this time, effective September 8th, 2014.
For year 3 of the contract. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. Let's see, Town Administrator, DPW Director. I don't think he's here.
No, very shy, doesn't come up. I'm recalling, and I'm going to remind you all, that this has already been before you once, and there were questions about, well, what is the nature of this position, and is it benefited or not benefited based upon the number of hours worked? And there are a number of nuances in the Teamsters contract that make this a little bit more complicated than a simple, straightforward answer. And I did my best in my memo to explain, after looking at it with the town treasurer and then reviewing the contract, we do pay, the town pays, reimburses the Teamsters Union for its health care plan, which its members participate in, and all members at DPW are Teamsters by operation of their contract. So we would be paying a rate that is based upon the number of hours the individual works, no matter what. So the incremental difference in that 1 hour a week is not, is really not material. Where it becomes a trigger is with the participation in the MERS. And so we end up paying 5.4% of gross in order to have this individual enrolled in the municipal employees retirement system, which comes out to about $1,000 a year. I will leave it to the director to explain the desire to have them 20 instead of less than 20. I will point out that that 20 might come back to help us because the individual is going to be required to have a CDL and will be available to the town because he's a Teamster to help us plow snow when we need it. But I'll leave the rest to the director.
Okay, thank you very much. Our current mechanic, Paul Russo, held this position 8 years ago. With the retirement of the then mechanic, Paul was promoted to the town mechanic, and the helper was never filled. So it's been 8 years without two people taking care of all of the town's equipment. It's just not DPW, it's the fire department, it's the senior center bus. We do some work for the schools when they bring their pickup trucks in for minor stuff. So we really take care of mostly all of the vehicles in town except for the police department, and sometimes we even help there when their mechanics are out. So we have one guy. And Paul right now takes care of 39 major pieces of equipment, not counting all the little generators and pumps and all the other issues. We just got a brand new, a new bus for the town for the senior center. And our mechanic basically has sanded it all down, painted it, rebuilt a lot of parts, straightened out a lot of dents, along with trying to take care of everything else. What's lacking now that I found out is the DPW equipment is not being taken care of the way I'd like it to be because Paul is so busy taking care of everybody else's equipment. So I did ask for a full-time mechanic helper in the last budget season, and that got negotiated down to a half-time employee. I prepared the budget to cover that half-time employee for 20 hours a week. I'm not only looking at this for help for Paul, help with plowing. We have an entire route that doesn't get plowed right now, sanded and plowed except for pickup trucks right now. This person could help us in that regards. But really, it's succession planning. Paul's 54 years old. He's been doing this for probably 40 years. And it gets old laying on concrete on your back and knees for all those years. And we need succession planning, especially in this field, because there's no one else that knows how to take care of any of our equipment. And if a fire truck goes down right now, pulls right in, it's fixed, it's out in a couple of hours. Other than that, it's going to someone else that fixes it, and it's going to be 2 weeks. So he keeps the stuff going, and he's getting really bogged down, and we need help. I think it's an advantage to have a 20-hour benefited position to attract someone that hopefully will be trained in all the equipment that we have and how to repair it and stay with us for a career. This is not someone I'm looking for to come in, for 3 days a week for the next 6 months, help us out and leave. This is really to build some kind of knowledge, institutional knowledge with all the equipment we have, and it really pays off in the long run rather than shipping stuff out. So that's why I asked for a 20-hour-a-week benefit position to try to attract someone that will come, hopefully stay here, and fill the void when Paul leaves.
And I'm going to ask you the same question. I know we have only budgeted 20,000. Okay, as salary. Okay. Do we have money to cover the benefits?
Well, we have now, when I build my budget, I never put in health insurance, FICA, unemployment insurance. I never build that into any of my opera salary budgets. That's done at Matt's level, or it was done at Jim's level, and I really knew nothing about it. I never added any extra for that. But since July 1st, when this was budgeted, we haven't hired anybody, so we've accumulated all of that budget salary money from July 1st to whenever this person will come aboard. And I think that's, I'm positive that's enough money to make up the difference that's lacking in the benefit side.
Matt, do you have money to cover the benefits?
I actually think that, Steve's right. I think with almost 3 months of unexpended salary line item, we'll have enough to carry this year, but we will definitely have to make sure that our budget planning takes into account. We just need to separate this out. It's a very typical pattern in municipalities to put all this stuff into a general expense line. I've never liked it because it's not transparent enough, and when we have a special arrangement with one particular union, we should be at least making a notation in our financials of what it costs us to carry that agreement with them.
Okay. And because you say it was coming out of future needs or council contingency.
No,
I
no,
think we're
it's
running
going to come out of
money.
the salary line.
Going out of my budget.
I will entertain a motion.
Move that we approve the request to advertise to advertise to hire a half-time mechanics helper.
Second, at 20 hours per week.
20 hours per week, yep. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries.
I thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Town Administrator, DPW, request award for bid for lease purchase of new backhoe loader to Schmidt Equipment Incorporated, 80 Southbridge Road, North Oxford, Mass, for $3,000 per month from October 1, 2014 to June 30, 2015, and purchase offer of $75,700.
Mr. President, if it looks like I have a little bit less hair than I did 2 weeks ago, it's because of this particular bidding process. And I want to make it clear that we got 2 responses, and a careful evaluation of the specifications of the bid does reveal that one unit does not actually meet all the specifications. So it would seem like an easy issue, but because there's a significant price differential and not everybody understands the comparison between 2 pieces of equipment like this, I've tried to be as explicit as possible. The best way for me to explain it is this particular Volvo, the unsuccessful bidder, not only did it not meet the very specific aspects that we asked for in constructing the requirements for this piece of equipment, even to the extent that it does, it's a little light. So to meet its maximum horsepower, it runs at 2,200 RPM instead of 2,000. So it's running 10% hotter to get to the same level of power. The bucket is smaller. It generates less power. It's 3,000 pounds lighter. So what we eventually come to the conclusion is it's not a small machine, but it will work just a little bit harder to get its work done. And over a course of period of time, what that does is it chews into useful life. The other significant consideration for me, and I'll let Steve explain the rest, is that for this year, for this fiscal year, the cost of having this unit, since it was not budgeted in the capital budget process, and this came to you as an emergency or a very pressing need, is coming out of Steve's operating budget, out of his repairs account. So to the extent that we can minimize the hit to that account and get us to the final destination that we seek to be in, which is a new backhoe loader, which we need, we should try to do it with minimal impact upon the operating budget in his department. So we'll actually save $5,000 on the lease, and then we'll be in the position to exercise the purchase option. I also want to remind the council that there's nothing automatic. So at the end of this fiscal year, it will be the director's option to buy the unit or not. And if it's a lemon, well, I mean, we'll go through all the necessary safeguards. But this was constructed in this way, and the trade-in won't be done until we're satisfied that we would exercise that option.
Or not exercise the option. It's totally, the choice.
Here's the one question I have. When we're talking about actual dollars we're spending, I imagine that this is going to float based upon our month and a half delivery schedule. We're not going to be paying starting October 1st and get the thing November 1st.
No, it'll be coming October 1st,
Oh, okay.
yes.
So the 30 to 45 days is just a buffer?
Buffer,
Cover your-
but they're both available.
Oh, great.
So until now, from October 1st to June 30th, you've got the 27,000.
Yeah, it's
Cover the lease.
$3,000 a month to rent the John Deere, with 90% return of that $3,000 a
Yeah,
month.
towards the purchase.
Towards a purchase.
Yeah.
Yep. And the Volvo was $3,600 a month. That's what the town administrator was speaking about. It's coming all out of my budget, so every month it'll be a $600 less hit for me for rental charges. And also, we also got a $10,000 trade-in allowance for John Deere, which I felt was more aligned to its real worth. And Volvo is a nice machine. I'm not knocking the Volvo machine, but our current machine is a John Deere 710, a real good-sized machine. I downgraded that to the John Deere 410 that you see, money, but I really think that the machine still can do the job. So I already have reduced the size of the machine from what we have to the John Deere 410, and the Volvo that's coming in is really equal to the next lower level of John Deere. And the 310, when you spec it out, size, weight, lifting arm distance, size of the bucket, the horsepower of the John Deere is 107, the Volvo is 91. So it's a smaller machine. And I think in Tiverton, most of the things I dig up are boulders and ledge. And that's not a lie. I got the pictures to prove it. And we need a tough machine, and if it's going to last for a lot of years, we need a larger machine. I can't go down two sizes. So that's what I'm really recommending. The John Deere, even though it's a little bit more money, it's heftier, and you spec'd out a full-size car, and the Volvo is a compact. And that's what you're comparing. But they're both good machines.
All righty. Okay. Any questions from the council?
Just want to note the Volvo had a higher breakout force than the John Deere did.
A higher braking force?
Yeah. You didn't think I knew that, did you?
I missed that one.
We will make an expert out of everybody.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the town administrator and DPW's request to award the bid for lease / purchase of a new backhoe loader to Schmidt Equipment for the lease price of $3,000 per month from October 1, 2014 to June 30, 2015.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, Town Administrator, request award of bid for Town Farm Lower Soccer Field.
With no offense to anyone in this business, because everybody works hard and they try to win their bids, but I couldn't be much more explicit in drawing up this bid spec document specifically saying, under no circumstances will any proposal that is over budget be considered. And of course, we got one that was over budget, and the other one is within budget. So that's my recommendation, cut and dried. The only thing I'll say about process is with work of this nature, we always actively solicit the participation of everyone who does business in the town of Tiverton in this line of work. But we only got one bid from one of those people. So this is, the recommendation is to award this contract to McGeo's Turf Management and to give them an order to proceed almost immediately since we are running out of grass-growing weather really quickly.
I just have more of a comment. I did have a question about when we were going to start, and I figured it was ASAP. I know we now have signage down against the stone wall that says field close. People are still using it.
I'm sure.
And so, I've seen it firsthand. And so I think it would be beneficial that before this starts, that we contact our friends in some of the youth leagues, because they're going to need to police themselves and/or I don't know what else, because it would be a shame to do all of this work just to have it all messed up. So.
Is there any way to put some temporary fencing out there?
Yeah, we're going to have to.
Yeah.
Climb the walls.
Everybody's going to have to do
I
it.
mean, yeah, I mean, you could put fencing down there, but people are climbing the walls. What's that?
The guy with the rabbit traps.
Yeah, some stray coyotes or something like that.
I move that we award the bid to lower soccer field restoration and renovation to McGeo's Turf Management for the sum of $11,820.
Second.
A motion and second, all those in favor? Motion carries. Continuing with the town administrator, update on fees, schedule, process, licensing, and recreation, and due to the lateness of the hour, if you want to make this real quick.
I will make it real quick, because this is really just an update for the council. I wanted to demonstrate that we're making progress. You know, we've kicked this particular resolution, continued it to future agendas a couple of times. It's not because it's not important. We're making an effort towards it. It's just a lot of work. The first item that you have is simply a summary. I thought you'd be interested in to see what is a true cost of business for those businesses that are licensed in the town of Tiverton. Some of them have multiple licenses, some of them only have one. I thought it was informative to track that. The second issue is a little bit more complex. We've been asking the Recreation Commission.
Before we get off that, just a
Sure.
We've got one, I just so happened to turn to Town Motor Sales, the car dealership on Main Road, has an $800 liquor license? That can't be right.
Brett, what page are you on?
We're on, they're not numbered.
1, 2.
The second to last physical page. 3/4 of the way down, Town Motor Sales, 109. Yeah, there's gotta be.
Trying to condense it, fit it on these, and she's probably just working with
That's
the
gotta
spreadsheet
have to
that
have been someone
Oh, yeah,
else.
because then,
Just throwing wicked.
because all you need
Throwing wicked
now,
parties.
way as well.
because then if you get a victualling license, you can drive, eat, and drink.
Okay.
Again, I got a new clerk in there.
But I also think, Councilman, you have a great mind for detail. You might have found the one typo on the spreadsheet.
I'm sure it's just a bad sell.
I think this is a great chart.
Yes.
It's,
Yeah, I do too.
it's very nice to see this sort of detail.
Now, in support of the rest of the fees and fines resolution, you've got several pieces of material that have been forwarded to you by the Recreation Commission and the staff, who are still here. So I thank them for their patience and their involvement. There are a couple of conclusions from this report that I would like to point out to you, since it is a late hour, though I would hope that Keith would make his way up here to explain any questions without causing any delay. But we did recognize an improvement in the revenue at the beaches. The beach fees went up, traffic was down, but the beach fees went up by so much that you still came out ahead, and ahead in a relatively cold and relatively unpleasant beach season. So there's a there, And I think we also got to the point where we resolved some of the abuse at Grinnell's simply because there was less usage of it. It was a matter of the gate policy as well as the fees. And quite frankly, if you go down there now, it's relatively clean and enjoyable beach situation. There are other issues and other recommendations, however, that came up front with respect to Grinnell's for next year and coming up with a field facility usage policy. And I would ask the council to consider that carefully, because as we all know, those of us who are involved in youth sports, if you really want to reach a lot of people, you make changes to policies like this. If you got 1,000 kids in soccer, that's 2 parents, it's 2,000 people are using these town resources. So coming up with field usage policies and charges is a pretty significant step. What we're realizing, though, as we attempt to draw real costs and score them against the actual revenues of the recreation department, we do run this at a loss. And so there are a number of policy questions for the town council. Do you want to break even with this, or are you satisfied having it being subsidized activity? And to the extent that fields are critical, how much money should we raise from the organizations that use the fields in order to maintain the fields? So, you know, I will leave those questions to be answered by members of the commission and the staff that are here, but that's why it's here now, is that those choices have to be made in order to get back to your fee schedule and make sure that you're comfortable with your fee schedule, that it makes sense.
I thank you for your patience, if you want to come forward.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How are you?
Howdy.
And I understand, you know, with the raising the fees at Grinnell, you know, the less people were there, but we kind of offset it because we were charging more. I think the only real question I have, and it's something because I got an email regarding it, was the problem with lifeguards towards the end of the season. And it's not unique to Tiverton.
No,
You
not at
know,
all.
I know it's an issue that happens everywhere we have college kids or high school kids as lifeguards. You know, are we looking somehow to address that? Because, I mean, usually it's just before Labor Day they leave. So you've got your last big hurrah weekend, and you have to close the beach because you have no lifeguards.
Correct. I actually was in touch with the state director of beaches several times this year, actually reaching back into July. We started to have issues. Several of our lifeguards were very good students in college, were accepted into the RA programs, and were asked to come back a month early. So we actually hired 4 high school age students in hopes that they would not be leaving us before the end of the summer. Of course, they were all athletes and started playing sports, and their coaches were not open to the idea that they would be working for us instead of going to practice. It was a statewide concern. They actually have started training and testing young men and women in hopes of getting them on board as lifeguards throughout the state for next year. It just so happened that we were one of the unfortunate ones, but we were not the only beach that had to close, actually, just to cover themselves liability-wise. But we did, as I say, we did hire 4 additional lifeguards as we entered August. Just so happened it didn't work out for us.
Yeah. Okay. And then obviously, you know, the thing is that you've recommended bringing the price down at Grinnell's.
The reason that we were able to make the money we did this year was because the money that's spent at Falkland is recreation money. These are people that are coming. What we have here is one of the best beaches in all of New England for kite surfing and windsurfing and such. So it's recreation money. It tends to be young adults who don't mind spending $20 to have the opportunity to use that beach for recreation purposes. Grinnell's beach is sun tanning and getting out of the house activity. And people don't want to pay $20 to go and sit on the beach somewhere. Our desire was to separate the 2 beaches, one being a recreation beach, the other being a sun tanning Family Beach and increase the town's revenue by adjusting accordingly. It's not so much that that we were able to recover the money that we lost at Grinnell's. If Grinnell's was a separate entity, the town would have lost a considerable amount of money. We went from the parking lot having approximately 120 cars in it per day prior to the rate increase to approximately 10 cars. And a lot of those were either residents or people that had the season passes. So we were in effect bringing in less than $100 a day from beaches that were making $1,000 a day prior to the price increase.
Coupled with a cool summer.
Coupled with the cold summer, but a lot of the people, I was at the gate, and a lot of the people are residents from Fall River that had been coming for years, and they felt a little slighted that there was an increase without any increase in, the cleanliness of the beach or things for them to be involved with, and they took it personally, and they didn't come back. Our hope is that we can get them back to a cleaner beach and be able to provide a service for them at a rate that is reasonable for them, which would help certainly the town to cover its expenses.
Question? Yes.
Do you have any recommendations for keeping Grinnell, especially Grinnell's Beach? I guess it's both Grinnell's and Fogland. I get constant complaints during the summer, especially about Grinnell's and how filthy it is. And that's part of the complaint about the fees that we're charging. You get this attitude, well, it's justifiable, I guess. Gee, I'm paying money and I'm picking up cigarette butts up and down the beach.
Correct.
Or I'm picking up wrappers or, cups or whatever. I don't know how to handle the problem, and maybe you guys have given it some thought.
Well, we certainly would need to hire somebody almost full-time to clean the beaches if you wanted them to be at the level that some other beaches are at. We have one lifeguard on duty, and we have one gate person on duty. They can't watch what everybody's doing. You've got half of the beach, which is fishing, and a lot of those fishermen come in and they get there at 4 o'clock in the morning, and they cut their fish up for bait and they leave the mess on the beach. A lot of them tend to be chain smokers, and they're not taking their cigarette butts and putting them in a container. They're dropping them on the beach. So, the price increase tended to make that a difficult situation for the population that was using the beach, that was causing those problems. The gate being closed at night was keeping out another element that was making the beach dirty. I think we did our best once we put in place the gate being closed, the police coming down at night and closing that cleaned up a lot of it. We put in more trash cans, which helped as well. But a part of it was that we weren't getting enough trash pickup. They come twice a week. Those trash cans can be filled in a couple of hours. So we had to adjust with that as well. It depends what you're trying to produce, what type of beach you're trying to have there. If you want a beach such as South Shore or second beach in Middletown, then you're going to have much more staff.
Well, what would you need? Would you need to hire one high school kid? That's his full-time summer job. You got a 10 or 12-week job. What would the cost be to the town for something like that?
Our gate people are making approximately $9 an hour. The person that we have now that cleans the bathrooms and changes, fills the towels and toilet paper, I think we're paying them $8.50. I would say that if you had somebody half-time each day to do that, the difficult thing is finding somebody. We had one person apply to do the cleaning this summer, and it's just difficult to find people that are willing.
You need a better sales pitch. Tell them it's a way to meet girls or something like that.
It's possible. It's possible.
I don't think you need in the bathroom, Jay. I'm sorry.
I think what's at issue, is that with the future plans there, hopefully, with the changes there and getting rid of the gas station and fixing that area and stuff like that, I think that will make it a little more appealing.
Oh, absolutely.
I personally, because I go to South Shore all the time, if you notice, there were no trash barrels in South Shore, and there was no trash in South Shore. You know, they're self-policing, and a lot of the beaches that are the cleanest are the ones that have no trash receptacles.
We discussed that, sir. We discussed that ourselves, but the difference is South Shore has 9 lifeguards. They have 2 or 3 gate people. They have an individual that works at night. We spoke earlier about the fires. You know, they allow, I believe it's 6 fire rings a night.
Yeah, you get the permit and you go down.
Right, and there's a gentleman that works at night and goes down and says fire's out at 11 and
he
douses it.
And he starts at 10:30 dousing fires.
I'm sure he does. And
Starts at one end and just goes right down putting out the fires.
And he cleans them up in the morning.
Yep.
You know, it's just, they make a lot of money at that beach, and they're willing to put that money back in. You know, it's a different beach.
So do you think that if we did lower the cost at Grinnell's, we would drive more revenue, which in theory, assuming people applied, qualified people applied, that you could potentially hire an additional staff person, part-time or whatever that is, to kind of zero in on the trash?
Oh, certainly. I mean, I don't think it would be an issue. We only put this price cut in for 1 year. You know, our hope was that once all the work is done down there, that it's going to, you know, increase the amount of people that want to go, and we can raise it back up and make it comparable. But again, it's a different type of beach. You know, you can't really compare either one of them to South Shore because it's got the waves and, you know, and such. But at $20 at Fiveland, we could have turned people away. It was still that popular. But at Grinnell's, I think we have to be a little more realistic.
My personal feeling on Grinnell's is that it's a multi-pronged sort of approach where I think I'd be willing to concede and drop the price to drive more traffic to get the revenue, but I think, and we've talked about it before, that Grinnell's could benefit from some improved trash kind of infrastructure that had the lids on it and stuff didn't blow around and all that stuff, but I think also we need to try to commit to people emptying the trash once a day, to, you know, stay on top of that sort of stuff. And maybe you don't need, if you have those two things, maybe you don't need the extra person to go, but you'll always have those cigarette butts and.
Yeah, I mean,
all
we
that
also
sort
were
of stuff.
working with a really bare bones crew in maintenance this
Yeah.
summer, so
Yeah,
I
that was
mean,
one of the
we haven't
issues, too.
had that problem
Yeah.
in years, that we've been
Yeah.
that short-staffed.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a lot of.
Kind of a perfect storm of
Yeah.
issues there.
The one question I had was, there's a notation to the recommendation that we eliminate the season passes next year?
Well, season passes, at least 95% of them were sold at Fogland. And again, because of the fact that these people are coming for something that we offer that they're not going to get anywhere else, we're actually selling ourselves short. You know, after 5 times, if someone comes on the weekend, after five weekend days, they're coming for free. We're finding the clientele down there comes more than 10 times. So we'd actually make up for the lowering of the price at Grinnell's by getting rid of the season passes for Fogland.
You don't think you might lose, do you think you might lose some of those people who were banking on a season pass coming 2 or 3 times a week that wouldn't be willing to pay $30 a week to, no?
A whole different world.
Okay.
Whole different world. You know, the people, when we offered the season passes to people at Grinnell's, that regulars, that, you know, they've been coming for years, and they knew they were gonna come 30 times this summer, no matter what the weather was, they didn't have the $100 on hand to buy that pass.
Yeah, it's a different clientele altogether. Yep.
They're seeking a whole different
Yeah.
different thing.
Yeah.
And again, that would be for 1 year. We could adjust it, see how it affects, but, again, the people that are paying, people are paying the $20 fee at Fogland with $100 bills. We're not seeing that at Grinnell's.
Are they saying keep the change or no?
No, not that I'm
That'd be
aware
nice.
of.
At this time, I don't think we're going to be taking any action. It's just a review. I think there's some good points. Actually, later on, I'm going to ask that we set a meeting and probably some hearings regarding Grinnell's and what track we think we should take down there, which will probably, we hope, help that area altogether.
Sure.
So, we've had the study done, we've seen what they've thought, and I think now we need to, as a council, look at it and also have more input from, the town itself.
Absolutely.
We've still got, one thing I want to talk a little bit about is field usage. I may be reading this wrong, but it looks like the recommendation is $100 per day for non-exempt organizations. And then the list seems to be pretty much every organization that uses the field is exempt.
Well, we started to generate a list of the groups that have been using it for years. And I actually made a suggestion that a lot of these groups are actually giving money back by making donations to field upkeep or paying for building construction for the concession stands and such. And so what we decided was, and it was very difficult to put it in writing, was that any group that was currently providing services or funding towards the town above and beyond what we would be charging them, that we wouldn't charge them. So if your group, so let's say that your group gave a $2,000 scholarship every year to the town of Tiverton for students, such as I believe our Little League does, and such, and charge them for the use of the fields, we'd make $500, and they'd probably be so upset that we're now charging them that they would take that $2,000 scholarship off the table. So we're saying that basically if you will give us in fees or services with care of our facilities above and beyond the $100 we were going to charge you, that we wouldn't ask for the money.
On the flip side of that, we're seeing an increase in the number of kind of private clubs wanting field space, like.
There are private teams that are looking to use the fields, and I'm not sure that they would be, how many of them would be able to afford that $100. I can say that the youth that you're probably seeing over on Town Farm, or I would hope are not our teams. They're probably private groups that are coming in. Well, that's sad. But I know that we've had to stop teams from coming in and using the fields at Pecasset and such. They just think they can come and use it because there's nobody on it. There haven't been fees. There is definitely a rift within the commission itself, whether we should charge or not. But we also understand that it costs the town, and we'd like to at least break even.
I think we're a long way from breaking even, but, that, at least trying to understand that I think even if you charged all of these folks, you'd still not pay, you'd not put a dent in the amount that it costs to maintain the fields, and we're just, we're spending $12,000 to rejuvenate one field. I think there needs to be just some amount of comprehensive understanding and strategy as to how we make this. And if we're, if I can understand the whole not charging for organizations that give back to the community and pay for maintenance. I didn't know we had organizations that were paying for maintenance. I don't know if that has been going directly or where that comes. Or it's good to understand what that number looks like.
The buildings that are at the fields, the concession stands, they were built by groups like the Little League and such. That was not town funding that created created those.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but they also then get to benefit from the sale of concessions where they wouldn't
That's
have
the reason they
otherwise.
built them.
Exactly.
There's no doubt.
And there's no use for them otherwise.
I understand that completely. There are towns that, and Susan's done some research, there are towns that, the way they charge is basically, they'll put a fee on each student or each athlete that's going to use the field. We would ask for like $5 from each of them. That's a way of not just throwing a flat fee out there for everybody, and those groups would most likely just add it to their registration fees.
Yeah.
But that's something that certainly would have to come from yourselves rather than from us.
Yeah, I think it's a situation where these groups are an inherent part of the town. And it's one way that you don't want to charge them, you know, and say, well, we're going to make you pay for your own field, quote unquote. But again, I do like the idea of those that are giving back, you know, whether it's directly to recreation or to the town itself, that, you know, they should get some sort of break, you know. But I think we need to be definitive on how we figure that out.
That is going to be a very difficult thing, I believe, because everybody's going to want to, you know, why are they and not us?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I thank you, and again, I apologize for keeping you here so late.
It's very into
Because this is only halftime for us.
It's a learning experience for me.
There you go, you just show up later.
Yeah.
I will do that. Take a nap
And, you
before.
know, we will take this under consideration, obviously, and when we're ready to look at fees and schedules, we'll.
Please let me know if we can be of any help.
And thank you again.
Thanks,
Thank you for all the good work you do.
Good job this year.
Mr. President, I had one announcement that's not on the agenda. Just a thank you to the 45 adult volunteers and over 60 student volunteers who participated in Part in Grade Day and made it a success for the town of Tiverton. All the reviews of the event were glowing, and certainly want to thank everyone who participated.
Council, announcements, comments, and questions.
I have something real quick. What came up with the Grinnell's Beach thing was the fishing, and I had gotten an email, I'd forwarded off to Matt, about the area underneath Sakonnet Bridge. Some fishing going on down there. I'm not sure how much there is. I actually wasn't aware of it, but I would imagine it's not a very populated place, well, traffic-wise. I don't know.
It's considerably well fished.
Right. Like I guess observation-wise, it's probably more out of the way than like
Yeah,
Anaquaca
really
Bridge.
Yeah.
So I would imagine there's more exploitation of the space there for stuff to be put. So I guess that with Anaquaca Bridge, we've had an issue. Grinnell's Beach, and now this area, I guess it's been sort of a rampant issue with a lot of waste, fish waste. It might be something worth looking into. And if it becomes a problem still on Grinnell's Beach, do we look at?
So you're saying close it
Well, you know,
off?
unfortunately, that facility is a state facility, so throughout the
Right,
summer.
that's the other problem, yeah.
Yeah, throughout the summer, I would, you know, early in the morning or during my lunchtime, I would go to all these facilities and just check on them and see what was going on. The tension point underneath the bridge is that, you know, you got 4 or 5 fishermen that tended to be the same guys every day. Their lines are crossing the boat launch. So they're interfering with the use of the boat launch.
That's not good, yeah.
And, you know, I wish I knew exactly how to solve that problem. That's just, you know, there's an etiquette among sportsmen that shouldn't happen. You don't want to lose your line of the guy's prop anyway, you don't want to ruin his engine. But unfortunately, people are very aggressive, and we actually had one incident where people were launching their lures into a boat because it was interfering with their fishing. So
Right.
we'll have to work with the state to get that solution.
There's also no restroom facilities in that part of the world, and that's also a problem. I mean, I can't smell it from my house, but it's darn close sometimes.
I have a quick question. Matt, I haven't checked my email today, so I apologize if you did do anything, but do we have an update on this Spectra Energy Algonquin gas line public meeting, sort of something that was supposed to be Wednesday?
Yes. But you're right to say, I'm hard pressed at this point in the evening to remember what time that meeting is, but I will say this. On Wednesday, the 24th of September. They'll be meeting here at Town Hall with the Spectra Energy folks who are doing all of the construction surveys and specs in the north end of Tiverton. We'll be briefing town residents. And what I will do is put that up on the website, and we'll get it out to a daily media. So we at least have one day of announcement.
Ballpark, is it during business hours or after
No,
hours?
it's an evening meeting. It's either 6:30 or 7. It's no earlier than 6:30, it's no later than 7, but that's a half hour, so I'll make sure I double check that.
Algonquin Gas,
Yeah.
5:30 to 9.
5:30 to 9.
Here?
Yeah, the 24th, it's penciled in on our calendar.
And just for giggles, what are they gonna go over?
So, we will explain the need for the project. The project stretches the entire east coast, and
Yeah.
I'll explain the capacity need for electricity, blah, blah, blah. They will go through their existing facilities, what they are proposing to add to their existing facilities, and what that, to the best of their ability, where their staging areas would be and where their access points would be. And I'm sure they'll also explain the construction process itself, the safeguards they take and the level of responsibility they have for what they do on their pipeline.
So my only belief here, and I don't know if, I don't know who's to blame here, but I just think we're not giving folks enough public notice that this sort of discussion is happening, and I don't know if this is one and done, or there's multiple iterations.
That's where I can give some assurance to you. They'll come as many times as we need them. I think the emphasis here was on everybody they sent in a butters letter to or had interaction with, because they've been going door to door asking
Yep.
for access agreements and all that. But they will come back on our request. They've already been once.
And is this,
Me and Chief Lloyd and.
is this just for the part of it that's in the north part of town? Because I thought there was also something in the south part of town.
You're correct.
Little Compton.
It's a vast majority of that project's in Little Compton. There are 3 abutting property owners for a relatively small stretch of pipe
Okay.
in South Tiverton. I think they're going to do that outreach more directly than trying to have a town meeting over it.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from the council? Okay, I just want to ask the council regarding setting a meeting to discuss Grinnell's Beach. They're scheduling. And then from there to schedule a informal hearing. So, I know our meetings are the 14th.
And the 27th.
We have a meeting next week, don't forget.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then 2 regular meetings.
Columbus Day is,
Yeah, so it's the 14th and the 27th in October.
And then depending how soon the Secretary of State certifies the results, that may be it for your regularly scheduled meetings.
pressing.
So you'd have to put it in,
Yeah, because the next meeting in November would be the 10th.
It's the 10th. And maybe this, maybe or may not, depending on,
When is election day?
election is the.
The 4th.
That's soon to get that certified, though. I mean, it could happen.
It's not
but-
likely, but it's possible.
Yeah,
So you
but
would-
anyway, I just think that we should have a preliminary discussion with the council regarding Grinnell's Beach and what the focus and ideas that the council has. You know, we've seen the report, we've seen, the input. I think this process needs to start now. Obviously, some of us won't be here when it comes to fruition, but I think it needs to start.
So 27th, that's
We had a date that we were holding for compound meeting that might not.
That was going to be October 8th. That was October 8th.
Eighth?
No, it was going to be September 8th.
No, we definitely get rid of the September one, but I thought there was still an October date.
no, I don't have it. I usually go through it.
I was working on it, just remember.
That's what I'm saying, when we had the date there somewhere.
The 22nd?
I see how the 14th is going.
Oh, if you want to put it on the 14th?
Well, it doesn't appear to be that crowded to me. Now, we're moving most of the public hearings to the 27th.
Right.
And if not, and we have to have a date for the comp plan, then we could combine it with that.
I'm good to putting it on the 14th. Again, I mean, I don't think it's going to be, hours, but I would like the initial discussion to take place and then to set some sort of public meeting.
Well, let's see where that goes. If it looks like I'm getting too crowded on that meeting, I'll just send out an email and we can plan a date after that.
Okay.
It was the 20th.
Do you know what
The
it is, John?
Monday, the 20th, in between the two meetings, was the day that you were holding for
Comp plan.
joint
Yeah.
Right.
meeting with
October
the
20th.
planning board.
Yeah, so if we can't make the 14th, then maybe we'll make it on the 20th. And again, it depends on
Yeah,
how
just wait.
big the agenda is for the 14th. Okay, that's all I have. Town solicitor.
Thank you. Basically, just reporting, we have two cases, very similar items, because the defendants in both of these municipal court matters, or matters that started in municipal court, are represented by the same attorneys. First one there is Tiverton versus Toaster.
Excuse me.
God bless you. The town was prevailed in municipal court. An appeal was taken to the Superior Court. And the town has been pressing this. The Superior Court appeal is considered to be de novo, a new appeal. It starts over. People are entitled to get a complete trial in Superior Court. The defendants have raised basically all the arguments of why they're saying that the conviction should be overturned, and they're saying that that should be, basically throw out everything and there should be no Superior Court trial. Our position in the town is that that's what a de novo hearing is. That is the remedy you get. If there were any errors that were committed by the town procedurally in bringing the action, then that's what the Superior Court trial is for. There was a motion, there were about 6 motions to dismiss in each case filed by the defendants on their various grounds of error. Judge Clifton wrote a fairly detailed decision explaining why he thought they should not be and that it should just go forward to trial. The defendants then waited several months and now have filed what they've styled an extraordinary writ to the Supreme Court, trying to appeal the motions to dismiss, an interlocutory appeal, if you will. And they filed it in this case, and then also K2 is Pauline Barabee and as trustee of St. Joseph's Realty Trust, basically the same action there. They made these arguments, they made the motion to the judge, they didn't prevail, and they filed these two Supreme Court actions. So we've responded with a similar memo in opposition, basically setting forth the point that I've set forth with you, that the de novo trial is the remedy for any procedural errors that may have occurred. We don't think there was error on the municipal court side, but if there were, that's the remedy. And we are now waiting to hear from the Supreme Court whether they're going to take these cases or not. If they do not take them automatically, it's up to the Supreme Court whether they want to hear them or not. Questions on K1 or 2? K3 is just for your information also, the Sakonnet River Bridge tolls. Back, but maybe not for long. This email was received last week from the court, setting down basically all of the all the motions that the court's been ignoring, including our motion to intervene filed a year ago. That's all been set down for October 22nd at 3 p.m. So I'm assuming that that's when Judge Laguerre intends to clean things up. And that's all I have for the K items.
Okay, thank you.
And frankly, while I've got the floor, neither one of the executive session items is urgent. So, given the late hour, I'd suggest that defer those to the next meeting, or the next regular meeting.
Okay, well, make a motion to that effect at the appropriate time. Okay, town clerk.
I just have a copy of what we'll be sending out to all our boards and commissions regarding the Volunteer Appreciation Night. Council had requested a Friday night, so that works best with Janice and I for the 17th. It'll be pretty much the same as we've done before. We'll send it out to as many past. We'll put a little article in the, little clip in the newspapers reminding anybody who chooses to come. And the second item I have, it's just to keep this out as much as I can. These are the dates for the election and different deadlines. Since we won't be meeting before October 5th, I just want to remind everybody that if you want to vote in the November 4th election, general election, and you are not registered, we will be open on Sunday, October 5th, as required by the state, for voter registration here at the Town Hall from 8:30 to 4. This has also been placed in the Sakonnet Times and in the Fall River Herald. But it doesn't matter how much we put it, or how much we spend in the
Still get
papers,
phone calls.
people still come back and say it wasn't advertised, but we do the best we can to get it out. It's also on our website.
Anything else? You all set, Nancy?
I'm all set, thank you.
Mr. Lambert, I will entertain a motion to move the two items from executive session to our next regularly scheduled.
I would move that we defer the matters identified for closed executive session to the next regular meeting of the Tiverton Town Council.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Motion carries. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.